Video conference calls. They can be fantastic. They can be a disaster. Some people like video conference calls, other people like audio conference calls. But when you do have a video conference call, there's some things you need to think about in order to come off as a professional, in order to come off confident, in order to come off in a way that people will perceive you in a positive light. Today, we're going to talk about what it takes to make you a rock star on video conference calls. Video conference calls, they can be very effective and sometimes they can be a disaster. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how they can work. And the truth is, not every conference call needs to be a video conference call. Now, granted, I'm from a generation that started in business before there was such a thing as video conference calls. I went for years and years and years and years just doing normal audio conference calls on the phone. And so I got used to that. In fact, I have to admit, not that I've ever done it before, but I've thought about maybe in a conference call doing email at the same time, or checking my to-do list, or doing a couple other things while I'm on a conference call. But you can't do that on a video conference call. They're stuck. People see what you're doing, so you have to think about how you're dressed. You have to think about not doing anything. You have to look at the camera. All those things matter on a video call. So please don't think every conference call needs to be a video conference call. And I know particularly younger people that grew up in a video conference call era prefer to do that. In many cases, they like to do that. I just don't think they're necessarily that productive. But when you do have a video conference call, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you need to think about in order to make your video calls more effective. So let me give you some big mistakes that I see people do constantly when we're on a video conference call, because I have them with clients, we have them with studios, we have them with television networks. We're working with different organizations all the time who are trying to bring people together from around the world in a video conference call setting. And very often I just see things that just astound me. So I want to help you navigate that world of video conference call, because here's the thing. I want you to come off looking professional. I want you to come off. It's not about ego. It's just about, hey, you want people to recognize your contributions, your creativity, your ideas when you're on a video conference call. And it's hard to do if they're being distracted because you're doing some bad things on that call. So let me give you some negative things I've seen that I want you to avoid. Number one, the shot is too close. How many times have you been on a conference call and somebody was way too close to the TV, way too close to their laptop, way too close to their screen, whatever? I mean, their nose is gigantic, their mouth is gigantic. Every time they open their mouth, it looks like Jonah going into the whale. It's just horrible. It's incredibly distracting. And it makes them look distorted. It makes them look ugly. Trust me, nobody's taking your ideas seriously when you're so close to the monitor, so close to the camera, that it makes you look horrifying. It makes you look like some kind of a monster. So and this is something you could practice, by the way. You could practice. Call up the camera feature on your laptop and look at how far you are away, and whatever you do, no matter how excited you get on a conference call, don't get too close. The next thing to think about is make sure there aren't people in the background. Now, the only caveat may be if you're working for CNN or Fox News or NBC and you're in a newsroom and you have people and activity going on behind you. But in any other case, make sure the people in the office aren't walking around in the background. I did a conference call the other day, and a fellow was in his office, and there's two people in the background having a Coke and talking while he's doing the conference call. It's very distracting. Think about, try not to have people in the background of your shot roaming around talking. Trust me, people's attention will go to them and not you, and that doesn't help your argument. The third thing I would say is try not to have an inappropriate background. You know, we live in a world today where people are working from home. And if you're working from home, you need to think more than ever about the background of your video conference call. I actually did one a few months ago, and the guy was in his home office, which I guess his work table or his desk in his bedroom. And literally over his shoulder was an unmade bed. I don't need to see that in a video conference call. I mean, the pillows were all messed up, the sheets were messed up, the spread was messed up. I don't need to see your unmade bed in a video conference call over his shoulder. So, we see all kinds of stuff. Trust me, I've seen all kinds of things. I saw a dog in the background of a guy's call the other day. I don't need to see that stuff. I did a conference call a couple of years ago, and a guy had a hot tub in the background of his conference call. So think about the background. It's incredibly important. I want to talk to you, not the weird stuff going on in your bedroom or the weird stuff going on in your back porch or the weird stuff going on in the back of your office. Think about that. Another tip is watch your framing. Think of yourself as a television director here. Watch your framing. I did a conference call not long ago, and the guy's head was this little dot, this little circle in the right corner of the frame, and there's this giant empty frame of a blank wall behind him. It made him look small, it made him look insignificant, it made him look just plain weird. So think about the framing. Think of framing a shot for a video. That's the way you should look at your conference call. So see where you are in the frame. Again, long before the call ever happens, practice, because I think it will really help. Another mistake people make is lighting. Lighting. They don't think about what it's going to look like being in the dark, or being too bright, or having a shadow go across their face. I remember one conference call that it was just a black hole. I mean, I just assumed somebody was in there because I could hear them talking, but only occasionally could I see the glint of their eyes. They were just too dark. So think in terms of how you make your conference call look pleasing. Remember, if people are going to take you as a professional, particularly if you're a creative professional, you need to create an image in your conference call that makes people believe that helps your perception. So lighting matters. I mean, sometimes it sounds trivial, but I'll experiment. I've got a set of blinds right next to my desk, and I'll play depending on what time of day it is with the blinds or the light. It's not really about ego. It's trying to create an image for the other people on the call that makes you look professional, responsible, adult, all those things, because I do think they're important. The last thing I would say is that when it comes to a video conference call, look at the camera. Look at the camera. You know how people look down? They're doing a conference call and you're looking down because they're looking at the screen at the other people. They're not looking up where the camera actually is. That drives me nuts. And I know it's natural. I totally get it, because people like to respond to people. They like to look at the other people in the room. But you need to force yourself, even if you need to put a little arrow on a piece of paper and tape it right next to the camera, pointing at the camera, to remind yourself that's where the people are. They're not down there at the screen, even though that's where you see them. They're up there where the camera is. So if you want to look people in the eye, if you want to give them your comments and your ideas directly in a way that will make an impact, really focus, practice looking at the camera, and fight that urge to look down where the people actually are in your frame. That kind of a setting, how you create the background, the framing, all those things really, really matters. I have an office that has a lot of bookcases. So generally, when it comes to a conference call, I try to arrange this, books behind me, wall of books behind me. I think that's important to convey who I am and what I'm all about. It's much, much better than seeing just a flat, empty wall. It's much, much better than seeing just a picture of Aunt Mabel on the wall behind you or something weird. Think of the environment you're in, because remember, perception is how people perceive you, what you do, the value of your message, the value of your expertise, what you're bringing to the table. So remember that a video conference call is really about bringing certain people with expertise around the table to contribute. And so often I've seen people who were brilliant, who had great ideas to share, but they were undermined by the image they projected through their video conference call. I hope that makes sense to you, because it's more important than you think. And I keep repeating myself and saying it's not about ego, because it's really not. It's about trying to get people to take you and your ideas seriously. That's what this episode, all these episodes that I do are about, how to get people to take your ideas seriously, because I believe you have creative ideas that need to be shared. But if nobody's listening, or if the way you convey them undermines their effectiveness, you failed. And I think video conference calls are a great way to do it. So don't show up in your pajamas, show up in the right clothes, give the right impression. Remember, it's a video conference call, so it's only waist up. So if you want to wear your shorts or your pajama pants, whatever, that's fine. But from the waist up, make sure you look like a professional so people will take you seriously. If you have ideas to share, ideas that matter, don't take the opportunity to do a video conference call lightly. If you do it, step into that world seriously. I would, in most cases, I'd prefer just to do an audio conference call. I'm not so crazy about video conference calls, but there are times when you can avoid it. I did do a call the other day with speakers at a conference. I spoke at a big media conference on the East Coast, and we had a little get-to-know-you call with all the speakers. And that was a video call because it was kind of fun, seeing who was going to be there, because I didn't know many of the speakers that were going to be on the schedule. So that was kind of fun. So there are instances where doing a video call can help. Sometimes it's when you're meeting a new client and maybe you're doing the first introductory meeting and you do it online in a video conference call. It's effective. So before you do it, just remember that the way you present yourself is just as important as the information, the creativity, and the ideas that you present, because that will help build a perception around you as a professional, an experienced professional, and it'll force them to want to listen to what you have to say. Video conference call. Stay in touch with us. Thanks for listening to this episode. I get great comments. Thank you for sending us emails and text messages and comments all the time. I'm getting some great experiences from people who are using these in college classrooms to help students. Some are using them in production meetings with their creative team, listening to them on a weekly basis, trying to help their team get to the next level. You can listen to these yourself, but you can also use these to help other people grow, become more creative, become a better leader of creative people. I think that's very, very important. So share these, rate us, give us your comments. It'll really make a big difference for us. And stay subscribed. So if you haven't subscribed to these episodes, please do it, because they're going to help us get more people interested and move up in the ratings and impact more people. We want to help you make sure people are taking your ideas, your insight, your experience seriously, so you can live the change that you want to see happen in this culture today.